I want to talk about money in a slightly different way today. Not budgeting, not side hustles, not how to make more, but just purely how money feels. A lot of people start the new year saying that they want to have a better relationship with money. But what they're actually craving is it for just to feel a bit calmer and a bit more gentler in their life. You can be doing everything right on paper, saving, planning, budgeting, being relatively sensible, but it still feels a bit stressful and this feeling of maybe anxiety around money. Waiting to be checked, adjusted and thought about, and over time that can be just very stressful to live with. Not the super dramatic kind, but something that, just follows you around day and night. I think part of the reason of that is because we treat money exactly the same throughout the year. But you've got to remember that money isn't static. It has seasons. January money feels very different to summer money. December money is very generous and social. Spring money feels hopeful, and usually autumn money feels practical again. Yet we expect ourselves to feel on top of it all of the time, so no wonder it can start to feel heavy. There's an idea I come back to a lot, both personally and professionally. I probably think about it a lot more than I should, and it's something called the quiet money theory. It's very simple. The healthier relationship you have with money, the quieter it becomes in here. When money feels loud, it feels like it's everywhere. It's in your thoughts, it's in your dreams, it can be in every single decision that you make. There's a constant mental tab open, and it never closes. You might check your account more often than you need to. You replay purchases in your head, you feel a sense of urgency when nothing is actually wrong. And that does not mean you're irresponsible, it just means that money has been too loud for too long. And then we look at quiet money. So quiet money does feel very different. It doesn't demand your attention all the time. It doesn't interrupt your day. It just sits quietly in the background, doing its thing, but there are a few structures holding it there. And once you have them in place, you can go and live your life freely. When I talk about this with people, there's a kind of light bulb moment for people, and they realize the stress that they've been carrying isn't really around the amount of money that they have. It's often about how often money interrupts their thought processes every day. And to be honest, I really noticed this with myself last year. December me and January me are basically two different people. December money feels generous, it feels social, maybe a little bit loose. It's dinners, taxis, gifts for people over Christmas, and generally just saying yes to things because it feels like a part of living in that season. But then January arrives, and suddenly I'm looking back thinking, why did I do that? Why did I spend that? But what I realized is that December wasn't the problem. I was just judging a winter season with a January mindset, and that honestly was such a shift for me. Money isn't meant to behave the same in every season of your life. Some months are for enjoyment, some are for pulling back. And the stress from expecting myself and my money to be static. And once I stopped doing this, honestly, immediately it felt so much quieter and so much more calm. So I want you to pause for a second, because this is usually where something clicks. If money feels stressful for you, I don't think it's because you're bad with it. I think it's because money is interrupting your peace way more than it should. And once you notice that, you do start seeing it everywhere. So as you're watching this video, just notice how often does money pop into your head when it does not need to. So really, this is what we're talking about today. Instead of asking yourself, how can I improve my finances this year? I think a much more gentler and honestly more effective question is, how can I make my money quieter in this season of my life? Because the answer in January is certainly not going to be the same answer in July. Sometimes quiet money looks like structure, but sometimes it looks like letting go. And sometimes, to be honest, it looks like doing absolutely nothing on purpose. I think about this a lot when I look at how different people relate to their money. I know people who earn very good money, and yet every conversation circles back to it. money, bills, investments, what they should be doing with their money next. Money is always very present. And I know people earning much less who they feel and their finances feel much more settled. They have 1 or 2 simple systems in place, a rough idea of where they stand with their money, and honestly, they just get on with their lives. It's always the second group that feels much calmer, and it's not because they care less, it's purely because they have the structures in place and it does not take up their mental space. Another part of quiet money is learning to notice patterns rather than problems. When you sit down to do a money check-in, instead of immediately thinking, oh my God, I need to fix this, I just want you to notice it. What keeps repeating? Where throughout your transactions does money feel easy? Where does it feel a little bit heavy? You don't need to change anything straight away. Like I said in my previous video, it's often just naming where the money feels easy and where there is stress. So coming back to quiet money. So quiet money always relies on trust, and it's not blind trust, it's earned trust. That kind comes from setting a few systems in place that work on their own in the background. These look like things like automating savings, having one simple check-in, paying yourself first, deciding what doesn't need your daily attention. Because calm does not come from control. It's just from knowing that things are taken care of. And I think that's a really important thing to say. Your relationship with money doesn't need to be intense to be successful. It can be soft. It can be slow. It doesn't need to be finance bro pressure. It can change with the season you're in. Some months, the quietest and the most confident thing to do is to stop tweaking, stop adjusting, stop optimizing, and actually just not to change anything. Just noticing that, okay, things feel fine. And that's not complacency, that's confidence. So if money has felt heavy for you in the past, it does not mean that you're bad with it. It just means it's been too loud for too long. So before you take a look at 2026 and add more goals, more tracking, more budgeting, I just want you to notice one thing and check and think about, how does money feel in your life at this particular moment? Is it loud? Is it quiet? Or is it somewhere in between? What would it take to make that feeling of stress 10% less in this particular season you're in? So we're not looking for perfection. We're not looking to impress anyone. We just want that feeling of heaviness to be softened by 10%. So this way of thinking has completely changed my relationship with money. Not as something to constantly manage, but something to design so it can support my life rather than interrupt it. And that's the kind of relationship with money I'm intentionally building this year.